This is Star Wrath. It's a multiplayer PvPvE space extraction game due for release sometime later in 2026. I was given a key to participate in the closed beta test that's been running through March, so I thought I would share some footage from the game with you, and in particular I wanted to show you how the ship designer works, which is one of the really nice features in the game. I'm going to design a ship from scratch. I've got an empty dock space here. First step is to choose a ship's cabin block. Here's a list of all the cabin blocks that I have in my storage. All blocks and modules in the game are categorized as either common, uncommon, or rare, depending on how difficult it is to find them in the game. I'm going to start off with a common medium cabin block. If I expand this section here, you can see the 6 modules that come pre-installed with this cabin block. It has a shield, an escape pod, some cargo racks, and a couple of maneuvering thrusters as well. You can upgrade these cabin blocks as long as you've got the resources, which will buff the shields and the structural durability. You can replace blocks, and as it happens I've got an uncommon version of this Hermes medium cabin, which I've already buffed up to level 10, so I'm going to swap that in. This block comes with an extra module compared to the common version. It increases the Afterburner energy reserve. Some modules within the blocks can be changed. For example, if I click into the shield module here, I can replace it with one of these rare restoring shields. Next thing I'm going to do is add some engines. You've got 2 types, Afterburners and propulsion engine blocks. I'm going to add a couple of propulsion engine blocks first. I've got some rares down here on my list. This Falcon block, for example, comes with 4 modules pre-installed. The Afterburner Restorer gives you a buff to Afterburner energy restoration. There's a pre-installed engine module, a propulsion fuel tank which gives you a buff to engine boost, and it has a maneuvering thruster built in as well. Going to place the engine block on the ship, and there's a nice feature here whereby if you press the Alt key you get a symmetrical copy of the block, because I want to place 2 of them, one on each side of the ship. There's quite a lot of flexibility of where you place the blocks. You don't have to be worried about trying to line up with any particular points on the cabin. And as you move the blocks around the ship, you'll see the characteristics of the ship change in response. That's the engines placed. I'm going to swap out the pre-installed engine modules and put in place these overcharged engines instead, which give me a much higher boost value. Having buffed the engine boost value, I now need to fit some afterburners so that I can utilize the boost. Similar to the engine block, the afterburner block comes with a pre-installed booster module, an afterburner fuel tank which increases speed, and a couple of maneuvering thrusters which increase maneuverability. There's just enough space at the back of the ship between the engine blocks to place the afterburners. I will swap out the pre-installed engine booster modules and put in place some of these uncommon kiddie boosters. I do have some rare boosters which have better acceleration, but I don't want to put too many rare modules on the ship at this point, because if the ship gets destroyed I will lose them all, which is probably the biggest risk you face when you play the game. Time to add some weapons. I'm going to put some heavy weapons blocks on the ship. As I am moving these weapon blocks around the ship, you can see red circles appear over some of the maneuvering thrusters, and that means they're being covered off and won't function. So when you finish your build, if it doesn't work as expected, just check you haven't covered off or blocked any of the modules. I do have space to fit these weapon blocks on, and having placed them, I'm going to equip rapid fire railguns. I do have some rare chopper weapons, which is a kind of a meta weapon right now, but I don't want to risk losing them. I can add up to 2 missile launchers. I'm just going to add 1. I will place this underneath the cabin, and that should help balance out the ship's pitch maneuverability a little bit. I've done most of the functioning parts of the ship now. I've got 6 slots I can use for auxiliary blocks, and I'm going to start by adding some armor plating. Ideally, I'd want to put this armor around the engine blocks to give them some protection, but I don't want to cover off the maneuvering thrusters on the sides of the engine blocks. So I'm going to put the armor a bit further up on the weapon blocks. Next, I'm going to add a couple of maneuverability blocks. I do think having good maneuverability and also being able to boost quickly are important features on a ship like this in the game. If I put them at the back here, it gives me the highest increase in maneuverability stats. Lastly, I'm going to add a pair of wings. These will increase the ship's maneuverability by 5%, and they'll look pretty cool. And there we are, the ship is complete. We can't apply any skins or decals at the moment, but maybe those features will be added when the game releases. To save your build, click on Ships, click on the My tab, find an empty slot, and then click on Save the current ship. So having built the ship, it is time to fly it. I've jumped into the online battle. This is the Antaeus Station Zone, which is a high-risk zone. I'm going to head towards the orbital station you can see on the map there, which is where there's usually some good loot. There's a free look camera in the game where you can look around your ship, and the ship is looking kind of nice. The orbital station is the big structure you can see up ahead. However, I've just spotted a transport ship on the radar. I'm going to divert and attack that instead, because they usually have some good loot. I have destroyed the transport ship and got the loot. I was taking some hits from the fighters, but my shield's just about held up, and I don't think I've incurred any structural damage. Other ways to get loot include shooting the rocks and the debris that's floating around, and certain parts of the structures, for example these 3 balls here. There are a couple of other players in this vicinity, so I'm going to fly through the structure a little bit and try to avoid being targeted. I do like the Afterburner boost and the maneuverability characteristics of this ship. That noise means I'm being targeted by missiles, which you can avoid with a bit of maneuvering. But I've just been hit by another player who has gone hostile, so this is going to be a test for the ship. I will try and line him up for a shot, but at the same time I have activated the gate, so I can exit if needed. I am struggling to get him in my sights, unfortunately, but the exit gate has opened now, so I'm just going to make a run for it with my loot. And there we are. I hope that was a useful insight into the basics of how to use the ship designer. Many thanks for watching.